welcome to another week of the Tetra Travels. This week I went to the My Chemical Romance concert in Warrington. I've been really looking forward to this one for quite a while. I got the tickets actually before lockdown happened for COVID. I went with a friend who lives up in Warrington. She's also wanted to see them for quite a while, so we got tickets together. They're a band I've always wanted to see ever since breaking my neck playing rugby in 2009. When I was in hospital, actually it was one of the music I listened to most. The lyrics really touched me and sort of helped get me through that really difficult period. So I feel like I have become quite sort of allegiant to the band, and what they sort of gave back to me during that time was sort of strength of message and really sort of you can get through whatever's thrown at you in life. So it's really exciting that I got to see them live now because soon after that happened, they sort of broke up and I never got to see them. So it's been sort of a long list of things I wanted to do. If they ever got back together, I said I'd make sure I went to see them. So this was my first chance. It's a bit strange to have a big concert like this in Warrington. It seems like an odd location. It must be one of the biggest things to happen there for quite a while, I reckon. But it's not somewhere I knew where I was or what I was doing. So it's like I come from like a very blank perspective on the place and getting around and all of that. I have to admit, from like an access point of view, the concert I thought was a bit of a shambles. It wasn't like very well organised in my opinion at all, and I'll go into some of the reasons why now. Firstly, getting into the venue itself wasn't very easy. There was very little information sent out beforehand about like what people in wheelchairs should do, or like disabled people in general, how they should get into the venue. So the drop-off locations weren't exactly signposted. The parking was a 15-minute walk from the actual venue itself, so that's not ideal for a lot of people with mobility issues. So we kind of drove there. We were going to get dropped off by my assistant, and we didn't know quite where to get dropped off. We did actually manage to find a location, but then they kind of directed us to walk quite a long way from where we were, which wasn't ideal. And then once we got there, there was actually quite a lot of grass to go over, with no real thought about how people in wheelchairs would get over them. There was no sort of side entrance or anything like that that would help people with mobility issues, and also no like assistance really. Like some places they might have like buggies or stuff to help people who can't walk very well, but as far as I could see, there was nothing like that. So it all felt a bit disorganised right from the off. There were also things going around online saying they'd actually oversold access tickets, so a lot of people with mobility issues wouldn't be able to get up onto the viewing platform. This turned out to be true. They'd sold quite a lot of tickets as like general admission tickets with like a free carer, but they'd not fully informed people that that's what they were doing. So that meant a lot of people turned up expecting to be on the viewing platform and couldn't get access to it. Luckily, we did have viewing access like tickets, but a lot of people were left disappointed. They did actually go about trying to like solve this problem by creating like a little section on the grass that was protected by a barrier, but it wasn't ideal, and it was very sort of last minute thought of like a couple of the staff there rather than long term planning as it should have been, and it could have left quite a lot of disabled people in quite a vulnerable position. So I feel like that was really remiss of them. Once we got to the viewing platform as well, it wasn't actually ideal. I'll put a little video on, but basically they had a bar that was exactly at eye level, so when you're looking at the stage you either had to look under this bar or over this bar by like stretching up. So that like actually really annoyed me. We talked to one of the people about it and said like, look, in the future can anything be done about this? But they kind of said, oh, it's like government height restrictions, which I don't believe, because I've been to other venues where the bar doesn't need to be that high. So I think they were just kind of trying to make up an excuse on the spot. But another member of staff did actually come over and sort of say like, look, it's not ideal. I'll pass the message on for future. But yeah, it was kind of annoying. It's just like, why have a bar exactly at eye level? The other bar would have sufficed. It was beneath it. And it's just those little niggly things that you just kind of get a bit frustrating at events. It also only had one accessible portaloo next to the viewing platform, which meant there was quite a long queue for that. which again isn't the best really, but at least they had one. But it also had no sort of bin in it. It had no toilet paper that worked. Like the toilet paper ran out very quickly, so it just really wasn't that well organised. It was a bit shoddy all round, I feel. So I feel like there could be a lot more thought going into how they sort of help disabled people at the venue. Once the concert started, it was actually really great. The show was fantastic. The support acts were like pretty good. I've not really heard of many of them, but they all did a pretty good performance. I wasn't so keen on one of them, but like I guess that's what you expect. You go there not to see the support acts, but it's always nice if you find one that you like. But overall, they were really good, and I absolutely loved the show. Like the My Chemical Romance were really lived up to expectations, and were like better than I could have hoped for, frankly. So I would like, yeah, absolutely amazing night. I'll put a bit of footage of some of the performances, just a little few snippets, so you can see for yourself. But had an absolutely great time, loved it, and would love to go again at some point if possible. I think the only thing that stopped the enjoyment a little bit was that it was absolutely freezing. Um, but yeah, I was dressed in a hoodie and another layer, a scarf and a hat, and I was still absolutely shivering. And like yeah, it was bitterly cold. So that was a bit frustrating for quite late in the summer. But the wind and the cold was definitely something the organisers could have thought about. People with disabilities were actually really cold, and they could have handed out some blankets or something to like those people that were really suffering. That includes like not just mobility issues, but like invisible disabilities too. There was quite a lot of various disabilities there, and you could see that everyone was kind of struggling a lot with it. And yeah, some people I think probably got quite ill because of the weather. It wasn't like it was predicted to be that cold, so no one was really that prepared. So it would have been nice if they could hand out something just to ease those that were really struggling. The show itself was fantastic. The performances were great, and the band like really had a lot of energy. At one point, they were making jokes about like Warrington being Manchester, which I think half the crowd found a bit annoying. Half the crowd found it quite funny. But yeah, it was a really good night, like from that point of view. Another issue though that we had was that somebody with an invisible disability actually had quite a bad medical emergency on the platform. Um, it didn't seem like the staff really took them very seriously. When we tried to signal for help, it took a long time for anyone to arrive, and we had to ask about 3 different people before any kind of help arrived. Eventually, paramedics did come, and they were really, really fantastic and helpful once they'd arrived. But it was more like the staff on the ground that didn't seem to be very aware of what to do or who to contact, or even seemed to take it very seriously. So I think a bit more training is definitely in order there, to show that it's not just like if you present in a wheelchair that you need help, other people need help. I think they just assumed the person was drunk, and that really wasn't the case. They were just really struggling. On the way out, they actually directed us a different way, which was kind of annoying because we realised that it was actually where we'd parked at the very beginning to be dropped off, and they'd made us walk a really long distance. So actually, we could have been saved a massive walk if they just signposted us in the correct way. So I think overall it just was a frustrating night from a disability point of view. I felt like a lot of it wasn't very thought through. They'd not really taken into consideration any disabilities totally. Probably mobility a bit more than some, but even then, not a lot of thought had gone into it. There wasn't any kind of information beforehand about what to do, where to go. The ticketing seemed like complete chaos. The disabled platform wasn't particularly well organised. So overall, I would give it a pretty big thumbs down from an access point of view. And it's such a shame because the concert itself was great. And we managed to enjoy it despite those issues. But it shouldn't be like a slog for disabled people to attend these events. It shouldn't feel like you don't belong there, especially a band that is all about inclusion, is all about like the spreading the message of you can be different. So it felt very, very annoying. But yeah, we enjoyed the night and like we made the most of what was not a great scenario. But yeah, overall had a great time, but it could have been a lot better. Since filming that last bit, I actually talked to my friend who was at the concert as well, and she actually had a really bad experience getting out of the field. Trying to get out, they'd shut a lot of the roads, which wasn't ideal, but she said it was a bit pointless because no one was being allowed to walk down the road, despite them saying they'd closed it so that people could use the road. So it also sort of felt like very, not very appropriate. She was really cold, so she wanted to get back to her car really fast, but she couldn't. They sort of directed her to go about a 15-minute walk, which wasn't ideal. She said the staff were really unhelpful at directing her where to go, which didn't help matters. And she had no clue where she was going in the pitch black. And eventually it took her about much further than a 15-minute walk to get to her car. She uses a power chair, so it's not as like manoeuvrable as mine. And she had to get her friend to help her because her hand got so cold she couldn't actually power the chair anymore. So not having helpful staff really was not acceptable. When she did eventually get to the car park, she said it was pitch black, and she asked a member of the staff if they could help light the way down this pathway that was very uneven, had potholes, and didn't even sound like it was tarmac. And they were just sort of like, "I'll use your phone," didn't actually care. Eventually, she did manage to get to her car, but she said it was up and down. At times, she thought she was going to fall out of her chair. And when she actually got there, because of the pitch black, someone actually drove over the ramp that helps her get into her van. So all round, it was just a dreadful experience for her. And I think it's put her off going to any kind of concerts in the future that are outdoors and just organised in this way. So I feel like it's a really negative experience, and I think that's really a shame when it could have been such a good night, the concert was good, but the organisation just ruined it all for her. It partly ruined it for me, but I think for her it was even worse, and it's put her off going to anything in the future, which is just not fair. Anyway, that's it for another week of the Tetra Travels. Hopefully you subscribe and follow. Loads of stuff coming up, and I'll try and put a bit more video in. Unfortunately, the video this time didn't have much live footage because of the cold and the other issues going on. It just I couldn't sort of bring myself to get the video out so much. So yeah, next time I'll try and include a bit more. So this one's been a bit more of talking and ranting, but hopefully it's helped, and maybe it'll spread the message that things need to improve on these sort of outdoor festival type events. Anyway, that's it for another week, so see you soon, and goodbye. Please like, share and subscribe for more content. There's lots more coming up, so please do it.